Hey everybody, Glenn Tompkins here on our YouTube channel, and today I got a hot video for you. We all know that Novavax, NVAX, has been talked about a lot. Why? Because the FDA said, hey, we're going to approve you for emergency use authorization for the COVID shot. And then they said, maybe we're going to delay it. So if you want to find out what I found out about what's going on behind the scenes in the Novavax play, you sit right there. We just heard a couple of days ago, Wednesday, June 8th, the FDA committee proposes EAU nod to Novavax COVID jab. So everybody was sitting down and they was going, hip hop, hooray, ho, hey, ho, yeah. We're getting ready to rock and roll and be another stock that could be used for the emergency use authorization. Then Novavax's new COVID vaccine might be late to the party. Well, that's as cool as well as too. Why? Because we've got a couple of vaccines that are already out there that people are using. Big thing here, though, a lot of people are not choosing to use the vaccine. What else is going on? Well, the government bought up a lot of the vaccines from Pfizer, from Moderna, which are the two EUA-approved drugs. Johnson was out there. I think it's approval, but on a limited basis. So with that, this new COVID vaccine could be late to the party, and that could affect the stock adversely as they try to get into a very crowded space of drugs used for COVID-19. Now, Novavax's COVID-19 vaccine approval in the U.S. could be delayed. Let's scroll down. The U.S. Food and Drug Administration, the FDA, decision on Novavax COVID-19 vaccine could be delayed according to a report by CNBC. An FDA spokesperson told CNBC that the regulatory body will have to review modifications to the drug maker's manufacturing process before it is able to authorize the COVID-19 vaccine use in the U.S. Wait a minute. Where did that come from? If they were already given the nod to say that it could be used for emergency use authorization, when did this news come up that you had to go through this extra process? Things that make you scratch your head a little bit and go, what just happened? On Tuesday, the FDA Committee of Independent Vaccine Experts voted to recommend the Novavax vaccine for use in the U.S. following a review of safety and efficacy data. Novavax's vaccine is already approved in the UK and Europe. The FDA has previously authorized other vaccines fairly rapidly. However, Novavax's vaccine could take a little longer for approval. The FDA reportedly told CNBC that Novavax informed them of manufacturing processes changes in June 3rd, only a few days before reviewing its vaccine safety and effectiveness. Oh. So Novavax came back and said, yo, listen, here's what's going on, and I think you need to know. And the FDA said, oh, hey, back up there a minute, buddy. We're going to have to do some more digging. The FDA spokesperson quoted CNBC as saying it will carefully review this and any additional information submitted by the firm. Now, on the other side of it, the CEO says everything is on track for COVID. Brings up another song for me. It's like, don't worry about a thing, 'cause every little thing is going to be all right. Look at the look on his face, though. He's like, oh, hell, I hope so. So Novavax CEO Stanley Erck looked at the clock in a conference room surrounded by about 30 colleagues as the FDA Advisory Committee chairman called for a vote Tuesday afternoon. Members of the Vaccine and Related Biological Products Advisory Committee started entering their votes into an electronic system and blah, 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 blah. So he's standing there going, yeah, everything's going to be okay. So now let's talk about what happened when the FDA looked at what was going on. 5 takeaways from Novavax COVID-19 hearing. All right. Number 1, An FDA authorization wouldn't be the end game. That's important because if it doesn't come through as emergency use authorization, then it says that requires more research. He said in which way they would start with the EAU. Novavax said in the meeting, the company also plans later to seek full FDA approval. So after all of this, if they don't get the emergency use authorization, they still plan to file for a full FDA approval. Number two, there seems to be a demand, but it's different from earlier vaccines. Keep in mind that COVID, to a lot of people, is looked to be in our rearview mirrors. All right. Some committee members question whether this should be considered an emergency anymore, recognizing that the pandemic picture is dramatically different than when earlier vaccines were released. So now, again, they're coming into a crowded space where we already have two vaccines fully approved. That's Moderna and Pfizer. And Johnson & Johnson is still on the EUA list, but for limited purposes in the United States because something to do with blood clots. At Tuesday's meeting, Novavax supporters advocated that its vaccine would serve a population that can't safely take the available vaccines or that may prefer protein-based products. Simply put, it's important to have choices in the vaccine platforms in a pandemic that is constantly evolving. So, based on what's going on with the other vaccines, which seem to be effective against COVID, that may be giving them a choice of a different vaccine, in comes Novavax as a way. Now, there's a takeaway 3 here. There's more to learn about the age of Omicron. Now, even the existing vaccines that are in place did have to incorporate boosters in order to go after Omicron, all right, to make sure that their drug was still an effective way to overcome the COVID vaccine, okay? So that's Novavax's data that the vaccine has shown 90.4% effectiveness. That's a good number. But if I'm thinking about taking a vaccine, I want that number to be as high or close to 100 as possible. It was collected before the COVID variants had surfaced. All right. So now, based on what's going on with Omicron, is Novavax vaccine good against what's already happening with the variants? And that's what needs to be found out. All right. Overall, it's factual that we don't have efficacy data against Omicron, but what we do have is the technology that we think generates a broad immune response demonstrated against a broad array of variants. It's good to say that in words and have that on paper. But if you're going to start putting this into people's bodies, how do you truly know if it's ready to go against Omicron without having to go down the same path that Moderna and Pfizer had to do while by issuing boosters to help your vaccine? Novavax vaccine could come with a warning. Ta-da! That's important. The committee members discussed whether the FDA should consider including a warning statement with Novavax vaccine related to myocarditis and pericarditis, types of heart inflammations. So keep in mind that Johnson & Johnson was pulled off because of blood clots in women. If this is already known about myocarditis and pericarditis for heart inflammation, that could also delay bringing Novavax to the forefront. But all of this should have been looked at before the FDA gave a nod to say that it's going to be utilized for the EUA or emergency use authorization. During the vaccine's clinical development, which included about 30,000 people, phase 3, 4 cases of myocarditis in young men occurred within 20 days of their receiving the shot. The FDA said concerning for a causal association with the vaccine. All righty then. And the last thing is manufacturing has posed some challenges. The FDA was only able to consider safety data and had to ignore some efficacy data. That don't sound so good, right? From some of Novavax's trials, because they used varied manufacturing processes. And that's what we saw in the first thing, that they talked about changing what was going on in their manufacturing processes. Why would they change the manufacturing process somewhere along the line if they had what they considered to be a viable drug for COVID? I don't know what went on behind the scenes there, but it don't sound like it was good. All right, so that's the news that I have behind it. And once they got the nod by the FDA, the stock took off. And then as this starts to develop more, we can see that these stories will have a negative effect on the stock. All right, let's get into the software and let's go take a look at the stocks. Now, I not only looked at Novavax, I wanted to look at some of the other stocks that were in the space as well, like Pfizer, like BioNTech. Together, they have their shot. It's full-blown FDA approved. Moderna, fully FDA approved. And of course, Novavax is trying to get to that semblance of being like the other other drug companies. Look at this. Today, they all went down. Look at this. 2 of them are holds and 2 of them are sells. You would think that with the FDA approval for a pandemic that was going on, should definitely have pushed these stocks higher. Now, the problem is that these companies are making money because they're selling their vaccines. Problem is, as investors in the stocks, we ain't making no money because these stocks are getting beat to hell. Now, the problem is I don't have the real answer behind why these stocks are going down. You would think that with the FDA approval on a pandemic that people need shots for, these stocks would be rocking and rolling. The other side of that, though, a lot of people are choosing not to get the shots. Patrick did a video with me. We did a live stream, and Patrick brought up a story about how there was a country that needed to throw away a lot of the vaccine because nobody wanted it. And it wasn't holding up. You know, you only have a certain amount of time to use the vaccine. And they weren't being used by that time. That's another problem in and of itself when talking about vaccines that are going after COVID. Now, do I believe it's everybody's choice? Absolutely. It's everybody's choice to do what they want to or not want to do. Now, there's a political side of this, of which I ain't going to get into, that, sort of pushed everybody to get the shot. I'm going to tell you that personally, I am vaccinated. All right. I'm not boosted, but I am vaccinated to give me a fighting chance that if I ever got it, which I did, that I would be somewhat protected. And I am. And I've already had the vaccine. I've had the vaccine and I've had COVID, and I'm fine. I didn't, and I'm lucky. All right. But there's a lot of people who are out there who are not in that same situation, and that's unfortunate. I still need to probably do a deeper dive video more into what is suppressing the prices of these stocks with what you think should be going on. All right, let's go take a look at all of these stocks. Let's go do a graph of them all. This is today, just on Pfizer. Let's go put this on a 1-year graph. When COVID was I did a video when it got the FDA approval. After that, it took off to a price of $61.71. Since then, sitting a little bit of a channel. Look at the earnings, though. Now, if you look at all of these stocks and look at the earnings, Pfizer's been around a long time, and they do also have other drugs in the pipeline, which keeps this company as a viable company. Looking at the relative value, the stock's got good upside potential. It makes money. Earnings per share at $5.47, and they grow their earnings at a clip of 34%. They pay a dividend, and the dividend looks strong as well. Earnings is leveling out. Now, watch this. I am looking at a 1-year graph. Let's go look at BioNTech. All right. That's coupled up with Pfizer. Look at that. Look at that pullback. Look at that tight channel. Look at the falling off of the earnings, but they're still making money. Why? Because they're still selling the vaccine. Now, what people do after the fact with the vaccines, whether they use it or don't, they're making their money because people need the vaccine. or the perception is, right? Perception is that they need the vaccine. All right. And again, I'm not going down that path. Again, I think that everybody's got their choice. Let's go to the next one. Moderna. Look at the fall on earnings on it as well, and look at the price movement as well. I had this as a $500 price target. Look at that, $497. It got close. It got close to that $500 price target, but since then, it's just gone. And I need to find out what is suppressing these drugs that are approved by the FDA full on for the COVID vaccine, for the COVID pandemic. What is suppressing these prices? I want to know what you want to say in the comments. What do you think? What do you think is suppressing these prices? And the last one, here's Novavax, and look at that steep pullback in earnings. And remember, earnings is the engine that drives the stock's price higher. Even with the news of the FDA for emergency use authorization, it wasn't enough to really pull the stock's price up. And the big down day today, sitting at a level of support, sitting at about the price of $40 even. Let's go see what happens with it. So folks, that is what I got to tell you today. Where's that thing? There it is. That's what I got to tell you today. It is a breaking story. That's why I've got this background. It is a breaking story because the stock looked like it should have taken off to the moon with the FDA nod for the emergency use authorization, but then they turned back around and said, nah, we got to look at your processes, your manufacturing processes. And, I gave you the 5 takeaways from it. What do you think about the stock? If I'm thinking about buying the stock, I'm not thinking about buying it until it can break through a level of resistance sitting at the value of about $68. Is the news enough to push it higher? Is the authorization by the FDA enough to push the stock's price higher? I'm looking at the earnings. I'm looking at the relative value. The stock's got good upside potential, but the safety is not there. RT tells me that this stock is in a deep downtrend as well. Left up to me, I'd probably stay away from the stock. Left up to me, I'd probably stay away from all of those stocks, specifically dealing with COVID. But keep in mind that a lot of those other stocks do have good drugs in the pipeline that should hopefully pull the stock prices up. Again, don't forget, hit the like button if you like what I talked about today. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't, hit the bell icon. And most of all, I really would like to hear what you have to say in regards to the story. Folks, this video is over. And until the next time, see ya.